Let's freaking go! We are only a few days away from March Madness. Don't forget, we are doing a super huge giveaway. One of my Jamar Chase 1-of-1 cards is going to you. All you got to do is sign up for the PHL Patreon, which a lot of you are already signed up. We've gotten a few extras. And if you aren't a member of the Patreon, guess what? You still get an opportunity to win a DJ Chark autograph card. We're giving away a Brian Kelly card as well. And we have a lot to get to tonight. Okay. So, first thing is Harold Perkins' new position. Is he going to be a traditional off ball linebacker next year? What is LSU's plan for Perkins? We're going to talk about that. We're also going to run through basically everything that we have learned about LSU football so far through this spring cycle, which is not a whole lot, which is honestly a good thing. No news is good news during the spring, right? Also, it is kind of a tricky week for all SEC teams because for mostly everybody, it is spring break around the country. So you're always worried about something that could arise. It's a lot of college students and testosterone and hormones and drinking and partying. And we're at the beach, and then we're at Floribama, and then we're drinking what is it, the mudslide drink that they have there. It gets crazy, right? But today, no news is good news is normally my mantra during the spring. Some other things to start off here is I think Brian Kelly has the respect of everyone. Today for Power Hour SEC, I am working on a deep dive on who is the most overrated coach in the SEC because every year they release these lists of the best coaches in college football. And every year, number one and number two has been Nick Saban and Kirby Smart, and for good reason. But what is very interesting to me, okay, now it might not be for you, but it is for me. Almost every single publication has Brian Kelly number 3. Every single one of them. 247, Brian Kelly number 3. Two different writers at The Athletic, Brian Kelly number 3. On 3 has Brian Kelly number 3. Every list, Brian Kelly is the number 3 SEC coach. Now, even if he were to win a national championship this next year, could he pass Kirby or Saban? That is a different debate for a different day. But how far is Josh Heupel away from him? How far are some of these other coaches away from him? I think that gap could be a little bit wider outside of Heupel than we would like to think. Okay, so a lot to get to, not a lot of time. What's up, Ahmad? It's been a while, my friend. Branson, good to see you. This old vet, good to see you. LA Mom, good to see you on a glorious Tuesday night. We are competing against a lot. The NCAA tournament tipped off tonight, but that doesn't mean the bracket challenge started tonight. It doesn't start until Thursday morning. So I highly recommend today or tomorrow, even if you don't know anything about basketball, it is worth it for you to sign up because it's totally free. I get nothing from this. This is all for you. We have over, I think, 25 people signed up, which is fine. It's actually more than what I thought because it is on ESPN, and a lot of you don't have an ESPN account, so it is a little bit different. So let's go to Branson with the first question of the night. Carter, do you think they're moving him because of need instead of putting him where he plays best and is most effective? I kind of think this, to be honest. Yeah, I think some of it is need. LSU's off-ball linebacker position isn't all that deep. That's why they are recruiting the position like crazy with arguably 3-ish off-ball linebackers already locked in for 2024 with the latest commitment of Devon Keys. So, yeah, and, they might be viewing him there. I don't think LSU wants him to play the jack role every single down, but as of right now, the way we understand it and what we've seen through practice up to this point, he is working with Matt House as his position coach. So the and now that the coaches are split up the way that they're split up, um, you can tell who's playing which position by who works with who. So if a player's position coach is John Jancic, that means you're playing the jack standing outside linebacker role. So think Will Anderson, think obviously in our system, Bijo Jalari, and Caleb Von Chason. Okay. Um, if you're with Jamar Cain, your hand is going to be in the dirt on almost every down. You're with the defensive linemen. Now, the three defensive linemen that play up front all have different responsibilities, body types, experiences, and so on and so on. So those three players are obviously Mason Smith, Mekhi Wingo are your two big stars there. And then Jacoby and Guillory, Jefferson are probably the next two up with Jalen Lee and Paris Shand in that mix as well. And then you have the 4-eye, right, who plays opposite the jack. And that player has got to be someone who's a little bit of a tweener, but could do a little bit of everything as well. But your hand is still in the dirt. That is Savion Jones. He's probably going to start there next year. Paris Shand is probably going to work in at that position. And that is probably where Deshaun Womack will play a lot next year. But I could see Deshaun Womack being the jack next year as well. So, and also Quincy Wiggins plays that position almost exclusively. So, that's how it's divvied up front. And as many of you know, Harold Perkins rushes off the edge a lot. Right now, though, he is working with the off-ball linebackers, and his position coach is Matt House. And last year, Matt House coached the off-ball linebackers and the jack, along with Jamar Cain. So that's why John Jancic isn't just focusing on special teams. It is a different type of position. So it is very, very interesting. Now, we say hi to TJ. Really appreciate the generous super chats over the weekend from TJ, Jordan, Mr. G. Good to see you. That on 3 ranking had Lance Leopold ahead of Heupel. I strongly disagree with that. Obviously, I just do. I like Leopold a lot. I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly at all. He is the head coach of Kansas. What he did last year at Kansas is nothing short of incredible. He does return his quarterback, and Tennessee doesn't. But what I will say is there was one coach in particular that I think on 3 and everybody is overrating to the max. And I feel like he is about to hit a sharp decline. That's coming up tomorrow on Power Hour SEC. In fact, a good bit of my day was spent researching who is truly underrated and who is truly overrated in the Southeastern Conference. But basically, everywhere you look when it comes to these rankings, number 1 is either Nick Saban or Kirby Smart. Right now, Kirby Smart is number 1 for me. Right now, Nick Saban obviously gave Kirby a start, and we all get that. Nick is still the GOAT. Kirby's 1, Nick is 2, and I think the only person who has a legitimate argument over Brian Kelly at number 3 is Josh Heupel for right now. But career-wise, I think that does play into it just a bit because Heupel has had 1 elite year in the SEC. Brian Kelly has only 1 elite year in the SEC, but that came in Brian Kelly's first year. And keep in mind, Brian Kelly is the all-time winner at a pretty historic program. So there you go. Well, TLV, of course, it is a hook, but what I will do is if I do get a $50 super chat from one of you tonight, I'll reveal all the research that I've done right here. Now, if you can read really quickly, you can see who that was right there. So some of this are notes from other things that I've done, but there you go. Okay. HP was way better than Will Anderson. Ooh. Jordan, I'm going to be honest with you. Obviously, I am a Harold Perkins super fan, okay, to the point where I was praising him even when he was committed to Texas A&M, begging him to flip. By far my number one player in 2022, okay, coming out. And he had a better true freshman season than Will Anderson's true freshman season, which was really good, okay? At the same time, we needed it more than 2020 Alabama needed Will Anderson. But way better than Will Anderson is tough. Will Anderson should have won the Heisman. Now, Harold Perkins can win the Heisman next year. He has 2 years to win the Heisman. And I think voters' minds are open to the idea of having a defensive player. Okay. We just had a wide receiver win it. I think Will Anderson was hurt by having Bryce Young on the same team. And I think voters are not dumb, and they understand that it is impossible to think that every season of college football since Charles Woodson in 1998, that the best player in every season of college football since 1998 has been on the offensive side of the ball. That is ridiculous to think. And then we can get into a debate about the Heisman Trophy and what its actual goals are and the mission statement and how unclear it actually is for voters on what they are actually voting for. Oh, okay. So you mean Will Anderson final year compared to Harold Perkins' first year? So was Harold Perkins better this past season than Will Anderson was this past season? That's actually a pretty good debate. That is. I would say Will Anderson's sophomore season was better than Harold Perkins' freshman season, okay? Now, once again, he is a sophomore and Harold Perkins is a freshman. But, that actually is something, because I try and be as objective as I can with this stuff, right? That is a very interesting comment. Was Perkins better last year than Will Anderson was last year? Now, I know a lot of Bama film guys weren't really happy with how they used him last year. They thought they moved him inside just a little too much, which was interesting. I think a lot of Bama fans are a little happy that Pete Golding is gone. Now, I know my dear friend Blake Ruffino has some strong thoughts, knowing that he played under Pete Golding. I thought Pete was fine. I do. But I do think it was time for them to split. And obviously he takes a step down and goes to Ole Miss, which is very interesting. So yeah, I think I think so. I think I'm kind of talking myself into this. I think Harold had obviously bigger games than Will. So yeah, no, I agree with this. I'll say it. I'll say it. But yeah, I do think they use them differently. They started using them differently. So Jordan, this is a take. Will Anderson. I never understood the Will Anderson stuff. No, the hype is warranted. I mean, he was really good. Now, how do I view him as a pro? I think he's pretty good for a pro. I don't think his career is going to be like Myles Garrett good. Like Myles Garrett is obviously, on track to being a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like I don't think he's going to be like TJ Watt, Aaron Donald level player. I just don't. But and I meant to say Von Miller is probably a better comp for him. But yeah, Will Anderson, he didn't play his best versus us either of these past few seasons. But no, he's good. He's really good. Like, I mean, a beast. Ask Mike Denbrock about the Cincinnati game. And Cincinnati, their offensive line wasn't the best, but that was crazy what that guy did in that game. So, yeah, I think I think Will's good. I do. And this, I don't want to cope for a Bama guy. Is he a little overrated? I think Dallas Turner's a little overrated, but uh, I think Will was fair. I think the comparisons are fair. This is also a fair statement as well. It honestly started with the Mississippi State game where he did play a lot and was incredible. But then again, to your point, Chance, we had the Tennessee game, which was kind of a setback for Perk by the coaches. It wasn't Harold Perkins that did that, which ended up being, in hindsight, not a great decision. Now, there will always be a debate. Would the Tennessee game have been better if we had Will Campbell and Harold Perkins in that game? Obviously, Will with the medical emergency, and then Harold Perkins' coach's decision. And the truth is, it would not have changed anything. But there's always that what if, but it wouldn't have. We played so poorly on special teams, it would not have mattered. We would have we would have lost. So Jordan Super Chat is with this. Yeah, Florida State would have been different. I do think Florida State would have been a very different game with Harold Perkins. I don't think Tennessee. I really don't. Because think about it, Florida State, they converted a lot of third and longs on us, and Harold Perkins is by far our best player on third and long, and probably one of the best third and long defenders in LSU history with what he does to defenses. With his alignments, his blitzes, his ability to come off the edge, lining up in the A gap. I mean, he could do it all, right? So Florida State, the outcome is potentially different. Tennessee, they're beating us. Yeah, I mean, you really got to think about it. We weren't the same team then as we were by the Bama-Tennessee week. Tennessee was coming off a bye. Tennessee with the cross-division rival thing, them not being a cross-division rival, they had a lot of fans in Tiger Stadium that day. Obviously, LSU wasn't good in their other 11 a.m. kickoff versus Arkansas. It was 11 a.m. kick. And they were just a better team by that point in the season. Now, if we rematch them, especially with how the teams played towards the end of the season, where both teams kind of petered off towards the end, it's on a neutral field where it just depends. I don't know. I think Tennessee probably would have been slightly favored, but I don't know. I obviously it would have been nice to get a rematch with Will and Harold ready to go, but Tennessee also lost an offensive lineman that week. So the bottom line is they beat the living daylights out of us, but at least we did not lose by a gazillion points to Spencer freaking Rattler with a playoff berth on the line. So that's not here nor there, but we did lose to Texas A&M. So whatever. But yes, I do. To your point, though, here, Jordan, it is without reasonable doubt that the Florida State game drastically changes with Harold Perkins. Drastically. This year and next year. And probably even more so it drastically changes with Emory Jones and Miles Frazier and Charles Turner in there instead of what we actually lined up versus Florida State with, because that wasn't that wasn't how that should have been aligned, but there's no way they could have known. So so there you go. There would have been a Hendon Hooker sack fumble. It's kind of tough there as well because their offense kind of flowed quickly. We defensively, we could have done a better job of not letting Hendon Hooker get the football out. And they also were able to run on us fairly well. But, the bottom line is offensively and special teams, we just weren't good enough to win. That was a bottom 5 game for us on offense. And that was a bottom 5 game for us, probably maybe the worst for special teams. So that just goes to show you, John Jancic comes in. He's ironically a former Tennessee defensive coordinator. I think one of the big things LSU needs to ask themselves about their special teams units is not necessarily how can we make them better. It's what can we do to not lose the games. And we forget some of these special teams mistakes that happen that were called back, right? A big one was the Mississippi State game where they had a long kickoff return that they got called back for a holding, and it was spotty. So there you go. Everybody, welcome Kevin to the channel. Kevin, I think we've chatted before. I don't know. Love the super dadism right here. Super dads of PHL. You inspire me. I'm not a dad. But dads, you know the drill. Our society needs you to be present in your young ones' lives. That goes to the super moms as well. That's LA Mom, Sherry Berry, Danny Girl, the normals. You know who you are. But super dads, I'm looking at you right now. Yeah. Get it together. If you're slipping, quit it. Okay? My dad was very present in my life. Very present. Okay? I was a lucky one. Not everybody gets to be that lucky. I know how spoiled I am with that. It's important. I like to see that, Kevin. That's good. Okay? And I know I lecture about that all the time. I'm here to talk about college football. But some things are bigger than that, as you know. Super Dads of PHL, assemble. I'm not a dad, though. So I kind of feel weird when I say it, but I just wanted to, I just like sharing that. Forbes is good. That's a super dad right there. Perk is going to be assigned Jordan Travis like Bryce Young. I don't think House will drop the ball week 1, Branson. I agree. Hope LSU grabs another linebacker in the portal. I like it. By the way, Branson Cat, one of our contestants on PHL Idol, a music competition coming up in May. We do have one confirmed country music star as a judge. We are working to confirm a few others. I worked on that this weekend. It's hard. It's hard to dial up some of my industry folks. So there you go. Who will be known better, Wiggins, Mason, or Harold after the Florida State game? Going to be a big time game. Okay. It's a good question, Frank. I do think we need to give Quincy Wiggins time, right? So he's playing a position that obviously Ali Gay played last year, which is defensive end, but it's not quite the traditional 4-3 defensive end that we're known for. Thank you so much, Jordan. Kenneth, the CDL champ. Let's go. Let's go, Kenneth. What was the big test that you passed? Remind me. It's been a while since I've seen you, man. Please tell me what it was. It might not have been the CDL. Something else. You passed some major exam, and everybody was like praying for you that you were going to pass it. I love seeing us win, baby. Let's go. Let's go, Kenneth. PHL Nation. Holla back, baby. Show me your W's. I kind of want to do this right now. In your chat right now. In the chat, just share a W you have had recently. Okay? It could have been that you carried all the groceries in on the first try. That's a W. It could be you got a new promotion. That's a W. It could be that you joined the PHL Patreon for your chance to win one of my favorite Jamar Chase cards. There's a Class A CDL test. So we're giving out Joe Burrow. I say Joe Burrow. Jamar Chase 1 of 1. It's one of my favorite cards. You can actually see through it if you look really closely. And I'm giving out a Joe Burrow. Okay. That's for the patrons. Okay. But it's free to sign up for your chance to win DJ Chark, Brian Kelly. Okay. If you win both, if you're a patron and you're just the overall winner, you get all 4 of these. How about that? Catch me outside. How about that? LSU should play Buffalo. The Bills or the Buffaloes? The Fighting Kendall Gills. Ooh, Branson, it's a hot take. Whoever wins the FSU LSU game has at least a 50% chance to make the playoff in my eyes. My W is getting the credential. Yes, Branson's going to practices. I love that. I'm proud of you, man. Proud of you. Aaron Anderson's going to take one to the house. CDLs, I don't care what it was. You guys always rep your W's. I lost 15 viewers celebrating a W. How do I do that? I'm just trying to celebrate everybody. Okay. I raised my daughter from 13 months. She is in her 3rd year in pharmacy school. That's a W. And being a super dad. That's good. LSU baseball about to run rule again? Are you kidding me? So tell me this, Chance, you watch every pitch of every game. I'm not an every pitch of every game kind of guy. I probably watch maybe 5 to 10-ish games a year. And it's probably bits and pieces, okay? Is this team for real, like Brad Cressy level legendary? Or is it that we just have a weak schedule? And don't give me one of these cheap, you know what, well, we'll see. Okay, I get it. Just let me know if LSU baseball is special. For those that watch the games, not you casuals like me. I'm an LSU baseball casual. I'm a fan. Type Y for yes. Type N for no. Wiggins, you watch all the games as well. Is LSU baseball special? Okay. Inform me, a casual LSU baseball fan. Okay. I cheer for them. I follow them. I want them to win, obviously. So I keep hearing, hey, Carter, you know Dylan Cruz is the best college baseball player I've ever seen. Really? Really? Better than Ben McDonald? Better than Andrew Benintendi? Better than Jared Mitchell? Better than Mikey Matuk? Better than DJ LeMahieu? Better than Buzzy Hideout? I'm just kidding. Buzzy's hilarious, though. I'm glad he's calling games now. Buzzy was always the fun guy. Jules lost a hundo. There you go. Congrats to you. So very special. Let's go. PHL trip to Omaha. Let's go. Let's get steaks. Let's go. Now, back to football, which is why you guys are here. Okay. I wanted to talk a little bit about Jaden. Went through and looked at a bunch of his throws from last year. You know, the more I watch him, the more like I talk myself into believing some things will get better going into next year. I like to be optimistic the best I can, but at the same time be objective. You know, one thing I'm going to look for the rest of this spring period is, look, I don't care how a ball gets there. Balls have different flights, right? The ball comes out of Aaron Rodgers' hand differently than how it comes out of Joe Burrow's hand, then it's different than how it comes out of whoever's hand, right? But I would like to see just more consistency in his delivery on non-deflected passes. Because, you know, if you look at the beginning of the Florida game, you can criticize a lot of different things about Kayshawn, but Kayshawn on the first drive made two of the more difficult catches on the season. And you can make a strong case. Now, according to Chris Doring of SEC Network, Malik's catch versus Alabama was the catch of the season. It's kind of hard to argue against it, especially, when that catch actually happened. The play of the season obviously was Mason Taylor on the 2-point, but Kayshawn's catch, second catch on the drive, was one of the best catches I've ever seen an LSU Tiger make. And the ball came out wobbly. He got his helmet knocked off, or nearly completely knocked off. And those two catches helped Jaden get in a rhythm and get going, right? So, next year you want to see things get tightened up as far as like timing, getting the football out on time. But one thing I do consistently see, especially if you watch full games, okay, if we rewatch every play of every game and you see how plays are sequenced and how defenses react to different things, you begin to see how much Jaden's playmaking ability puts stress on a defense. It demolishes your psyche. And you really saw that in particular in the Ole Miss game. And honestly, you saw that in the Alabama game, right? Alabama was tired. They started missing a lot of tackles. They started getting very sloppy with their assignments. We were starting to run over them and enforce our will. And some of that is physical, and you give Jacob Flint and our home field crowd a lot of credit. But a lot of it is just mental, right? If you're a defense and you got to chase Jaden Daniels, who is faster than your fastest guy on defense, you got to watch out, right? Ironically, there's this new product called Bowman U. I pulled a Mason Smith card. It's over here somewhere. Ironically, I pulled a Jordan Battle card, and Jordan Battle was the one who was actually beat twice by Mason Smith, once in regulation and once in overtime. So yeah, I mean, I think Jaden's just consistently making the big plays when we needed to. God, he was just so big for us. He really, really was in that game. And Jaden's fourth quarter performance in particular will go down in LSU history. No matter what actually happens this year, he is a legend for that night in Tiger Stadium. He really is. So it's crazy. Now, Mr. LSU fan for life, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. He wants to talk about the offensive line and what we're building here. And I brought this up last night on AYS, and I'm going to bring it up here now. We're actually going to wait until about the hour mark to talk offensive line, but anytime we can talk offensive line, especially with the super chat, is always a good time. So if I was Brian Kelly, I would print this off and go to every offensive lineman in America and say, this is what I could do for you. Okay. So for those that aren't too familiar with the NFL and just with sports in general, okay, you never become truly generational wealthy in sports until you sign that second contract, right? Because if you sign that first contract, you're young, you're going to blow a lot of money on, depreciating assets, cars, chains, houses. You're going to buy, mom a house. You're going to buy your cousin's a house. You guys know the deal, right? So really, the second contract is where you're going to make more annually. You've proven yourself as a player, and just your wage scale goes up, right? Now, I'm not a sports business expert, but what I can tell you is your money goes up when you get that second contract. You sign all these contracts for all this guaranteed money, okay? So this was the 2015 Notre Dame offensive line. Okay. Now, they all didn't graduate and come out at the same time. Okay. But still, Mike Golick Jr., who's a former Notre Dame lineman himself, obviously his dad, the longtime ESPN host, and he himself is also a very talented and interesting host. This is pretty freaking incredible. Okay. Ronnie Stanley, 5 years, $98.75 million, $64 million guaranteed. Quentin Nelson, who will probably go in the Hall of Fame one day, 4 years, $80 million, $60 million guaranteed. Nick Martin, 3 years, $33 million, $18 million guaranteed. Mike McGlinchey is actually going to the Broncos from San Francisco, 5 years, $87.5 million, $50 million guaranteed. So the head coach of this team was Brian Kelly. So there you have it. That's all the recruiting pitch you need. Come play for me. Look at the money I made for them. Okay. So you're right. Chips are won in the trenches. I still believe that too, especially when it comes to high school football recruiting. I just think it's harder to find good offensive linemen in the portal. I just do. I think skill guys you can find in the portal, quarterbacks you can even find in the portal. You just need one, right? Offensive line, I still believe the best way to build an offensive line is through high school recruiting. They're few and far between, and something else about the offensive line is they play every snap. Right? I know the quarterback does as well, but you need one quarterback and 5 offensive linemen. And in theory, you need 8 to 10 to have, a feasible offensive line. Unless I'm just wrong on this, Krim, they did. Branson, don't spoil my fun, man. Somebody's getting ready to unleash a $50 super chat. Branson's like, no, I'm just going to reveal it. But you're right. Show it to all the big linemen that want to get paid. Thank you so much, Ira. She can come in. No, we're going to bed. The baby? The baby. It is Jimbo Fisher, most overrated coach in the SEC. Let's see. No, it wasn't Lane, but it still holds true. I will give you who is truly the most overrated SEC coach for a $50 super chat. That's what we're aiming for tonight, baby. Let's go. But yeah, I think Mr. LSU fan for life, you are right. I talk and I reference it quite a bit. Okay. If you actually go back and watch the games, okay, and you really need to watch closely, okay, because sometimes when you rewatch a game, you will only follow the ball, okay. And in truth, if you're actually watching a game, unless you're just running the football down their throats or unless a quarterback is never pressured, you really don't know how good an offensive line is. It does take a rewatch. Now, analysts have gotten better at pointing out, when there's a good puller and all that stuff. But you really don't know in totality how an offensive line performs until you watch everything because they're so fixated on the ball, right? The only time you really know is if you're just getting your butts kicked up front, okay? But if you go back and watch the 07 season, watch how that offensive line worked together, and that will always be my favorite offensive line. That was such a good group of LSU Tigers, and none of them made it in the NFL. None of them. Okay? Vines, good to see you. We'll talk some Lane. Why not? For all the crap he talked, you would think Lane at least won the West once. So, I just don't think with the way recruiting is going now that there will be a non-LSU, non-Alabama, non-Texas A&M SEC West champion. It's going to be really hard, okay? Because it's just depth. You just don't have the recruiting depth, right? But still, Lane does run his mouth quite a bit. But more often than not, it's some of it is self-deprecation. Right now, he's trying to get his son recruited by all the big schools. So I find that to be so funny. But for the most part, I love Lane's social media banter. I do. Okay. So yeah. Everybody, welcome Jackson Miller. You know what's interesting to Jackson Miller? I want first time commenters to get a whole lot of love. Okay. I actually was spelling Jackson Howard this way, Jaxson. But Jackson Howard is without the S. It is Jaxon. So it's amazing how many different Jackson spellings there are. There's Jaxon, there's Jaxson, and then you have the Lamar Jackson spelling, which is Jackson. Okay. And that's the most common. So Jackson Miller wants to talk some Colin Simmons. Okay. We want first timers to feel welcome. Once again, if you are new, we have a bunch of new people that I've seen comment. I always like to answer questions from the newbies to make them feel welcome. But if there's any LSU football topic that you can come to your senses, I didn't say that smoothly at all. But if there is one simple question that you want answered, okay, feel free to super chat it. It goes a long way. You can also Venmo Cash App at Carter the Power. There's also, if you didn't notice, a bottom scroll. You can join our Patreon. You can go to powerhourlsu.com and get some merch. Okay, lots of different ways to support. So Jackson, I hope you feel welcome, and I will talk some Colin Simmons, okay? He is a 5-star defensive end, and he's not only a 5-star, he is an elite 5-star. He's a consensus top 10 overall 5-star. So he's a guy that's pretty well renowned. Plays at Duncanville, very emotional year last year with their coach. I forgot his name. He finally broke through and won a state championship. He had been a coach there for a long time. He'd been coach of the year plenty of times. And they have other players that LSU are interested in. I think Caden Durham, if I'm saying his name correctly, he's a really good running back for them. And, Duncanville just produces really good players. We were in it for Savion Byrd a few years ago, really good offensive lineman that ultimately picked Oklahoma. So, once again, Duncanville is a powerhouse, and congrats on them winning the state championship. So is it a little concerning that Colin Simmons has not been on campus yet? Um, I guess, but I mean, number one, I don't know if he's been on campus or not. Sometimes recruits go to campus and it's not reported. Maybe he has, maybe he hasn't. Maybe I'm missing something. Someone let me know if he's actually been to LSU's campus yet. I would have to think that he has at some point, right? Considering how many people report that LSU is in the lead. So somebody please correct me on that. I am not, the day-to-day recruiting specialist. I get lost in it all the time. But what I can tell you though, Jackson, is a lot of people feel LSU is in it. And, when these recruiting insiders say LSU's in it, that means Jamar Cain is in it. And Jamar Cain has done a really good job recruiting this position for LSU up to this point. So obviously Colin Simmons is a big piece for what LSU is trying to do. Okay. And he's a 5-star end, and those guys win you a lot of games. The good news is Louisiana is loaded with defensive linemen. Okay. This is a very good defensive line crop in the state. All right. Just looking at the recruiting rankings. But still, if you have the opportunity to get a top 10 national 5-star, they're rare. They're very finite resources. You've got to do your absolute best. Okay. So Jordan is a very sharp guy. He says he was at the Southern game. So, he has been to campus. But I think your question more so referred to recently. Okay. And that's fine. I just, number one, I don't keep up with the day to day as closely because so much changes and it can be very exhausting. But number two, I still feel good for where LSU is. At least that's what people that know more about this stuff than me. Okay. Now, something else I will say, all right, is I do think, okay, I do think this is true. The NFL is starting to get a little taste of our medicine as college football fans, where these these free agents have all the leverage on where they want to go. Okay. And Aaron Rodgers is pulling one of the craziest free agency heist I have ever seen. With this, is he gonna go? Is he gonna stay? Does he fit in New York? Is he actually going there? He's from Cali. Is he gonna fit in with the Big Apple? Is it a darkness retreat? Where the heck is he going? And to all my NFL buddies, welcome to what it's like to be a college football fan on what used to be Tuesday nights in February. But apparently Aaron Rodgers is going to be doing some interview tomorrow on the let's see. I'm trying to figure out maybe Aaron Rodgers dropped the news already. I don't know. I'm just making sure. Also, a little side news here. According to Pro Football Focus, Mike Hollins from Baton Rouge, he was shot in the Virginia shooting. He is back in full action for the Virginia Cavaliers. I thought he was a running back. Pro Football Focus says he is a wide receiver. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he's a running back. So that's good. Let's go to Branson Cat. Is safety the weakest position for LSU right now? I think so. And yeah, we're a little thin there. Fouché for us last year ended up having a really good year. So yeah, I mean, it's a good time for LSU to go get a safety in the portal. And I think they will find one. Wink, wink, nod, nod. I feel pretty good. Did someone say bracket challenge? What's up, Shane? Good to see you. I'll be seeing you hopefully here in about a month or so. Bracket challenge. Sign up. Grand prize. If you are a patron, once again, grand prize is this Jamar Chase 1 of 1. We're going to throw in a Joe Burrow card, but if you're not a patron, we're still going to give out Brian Kelly, DJ Chark, and Shane, especially if you win it, I'm going to send you a Terrace Marshall something. Well, Kareem, I can't tell you that, man, because it's part of the bracket challenge. Now, on Thursday night's live stream, I'll be able to reveal who I have winning it all. But yeah. Vines, good to have you back. Cade York is currently with the Browns, had a good rookie year. Jats got Alan Lazard. Who is mid. Okay. Now, what's interesting is Reese, I think it was last year. I was in some kind of big bracket challenge. And I picked Alabama to go to the Final Four. It might have been the year before, because it was some Baton Rouge bracket challenge. Because if you're in a huge group, what you want to do, all right, and this is going to be my only bracket advice, is you want to pick a team that not a whole lot of people are going to pick. Because if you do and that team ends up winning, the likelihood that you actually win the bracket challenge goes up because you get more points for winning, for picking the champion. I do find it interesting, some of the bracket challenges where it's just 1 point for every game you get right. But still. So yeah. Only tip. Now, there are some things that I like as good as a bracket challenge. But there's not a lot. There is something though that I like, not quite to the level of like a bracket challenge, but even higher. And that one thing, what is it? Here we go. I know Shane's in here. Pressy Collection. PressyCollection.com. These were the responses when Haley's engagement ring hit the Instagram algorithm for the first time. That rock is perp. Fellas, when you got your ladies' friends doing the perf, you know you got the juices flowing, baby. PressleyCollection.com. Okay? Haley was in freaking love with your boy when I decided to drop this bad boy on her. Let's go. Pressy Collection, PressyCollection.com. But it's not just rings, folks. It's every type of jewelry imaginable. Get your one-on-one consultation today. It's totally free. Pressy Collection and the PressyCollection.com. It's still crazy that it's coming up on a month, like a year since I think we went in last March to England. I think we did. So Shane, congrats to the future Simone Augustus. Parkway, Michaela Williams led Panthers state champions. I'm really excited to see her go crazy. Let's go. Some people just want it all. So here's what we're going to do. We're about an hour into it. Okay. Currently working on some other projects with Power Hour SCC. So we might not do as long of a PHL live stream. I want to make sure the bracket challenge is all set up. But here's what we're going to do. Okay. In the next 5 to 10 minutes, I'll answer as many questions as we possibly can. It doesn't even have to be LSU football related. I know some of you have Saints questions for me, Pelicans questions for me, LSU baseball questions for me. Bring them. Now, in particular, LSU baseball, there are plenty of people in here that can answer them, but apparently they're pretty special. And this is something really cool that we're getting to witness. Thank goodness Jay Johnson's here. Okay. So that is obviously really freaking cool. Shout out to Dylan Cruz. I think I saw Tommy Tanks got himself something tonight. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. But yeah, as far as was there anything else that I wanted to get to tonight? Yeah, no spring practices this week. I was thinking about Patrick Peterson going to the Steelers. Okay. So I felt this way last year with DJ Chark, right? I like DJ Chark as well. So, number 7 for LSU. He wore number 4 for the Lions last year. And he ended up going to the Lions, right? He was a free agent. He could have signed anywhere. He signed a 1-year, $10 million deal to go play for the Lions. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it because they're the Lions, and I want DJ Chark to be able to go win a ring. Well, the Lions look pretty good. Now, DJ Chark is a free agent again. We don't know exactly where he's going to go just yet. But Patrick Peterson signs with the Steelers, okay? And Patrick Peterson has let it be known that he wants to go to a contender. And a lot of people were making fun of him for signing with the Steelers. Now, answer this in the chat right now. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Do you feel the Steelers are a lock to make the playoffs next year? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Because that means that they are playoff contenders. Do you feel the Steelers are in that threshold right now? And I was going through this and I was like, God, I wish PP7 would have signed with somebody else. And, he could have gone to the Bengals. He could have gone to the Chiefs. He could have gone somewhere. Chances alone, yes, here. No. I was about to say, Mike Tomlin is going to get a gold jacket one day. I mean, what, in the last 20 years, he's definitely like a top 5 coach, right? I disagree with a lot of Tomlin's punting decisions, but I just don't know. Surgery day tomorrow for Jordan. So good luck with the procedure tomorrow. We'll be here for you. I talked to Andre yesterday, which is pretty cool. Steelers are not playoff contenders. Chark was a great fit in Detroit. Beat Green Bay with that catch. That's a lot. They went to him, designed on 4th down. I am a huge Ben Johnson fan, right? So the Lions, AP says no. He super chatted a no. If they can make it, yeah, but Lock, heck no. God, that was such a genius way to end that game. I love the Lions. I love Ben Johnson, their offensive coordinator. And the Lions have just been interesting. So they went with Dan Campbell from the Saints. He does a bite kneecaps off thing. Anthony Lynn is their offensive coordinator the year before. The former Chargers head coach had a lot of success there. Wasn't a great OC, though, for the Lions. So they went and get Ben Johnson. And Ben was really good for them last year. So, yeah, he calls his play for DJ Chark on 4th down, and Chark makes the big catch, and sayonara Aaron Rodgers. Jordan, shoot me an email here in a second. Let me know everything that's going on here. Might be able to hop on a call tomorrow after surgery. How about that? Would you like that? Let me know. Here's Michael B. He is a Steelers fan himself. Oh, he's not a fan himself. Michael B. Good to have him back in the chat. They aren't immune to quarterback roulette, so hard to hit on a franchise quarterback. Here's my issue with Kenny Pickett. Okay. If Kenny Pickett was in the NFC and Vine's Sean Payton is the head coach of the Broncos, if Kenny Pickett was in the NFC with Mike Tomlin, I would feel a lot better. But now with Aaron going to the Jets, this is a tough situation if Kenny Pickett is your quarterback, right? Right? Matt Canada is still the play caller there, right? And I like Matt Canada. I think his 2017 LSU season was better than what people would like to admit. But still, I wouldn't consider him a top 10 play caller in the AFC. But if Lamar re-signs with the Ravens, which he probably will, that Joe Burrow guy's kind of good. He still exists. And if you think Deshaun Watson's not going to be better than what he was last year, you're crazy. And Kenny Pickett is your guy. It's tough. Here's the issue. The Steelers have some Hall of Famers on their team. Patrick Peterson, obviously coming over. He's not the same guy as he once was. I don't think anybody would say that, but he's still pretty solid. And they get TJ Watt back. Who else do they have? Oh, yeah, Najee Harris is pretty solid. They've got a good crop of young receivers, Pickens and Deontay Johnson. Pat Freiermuth at tight end. The Terrible Town Nation. Steelers have a lot to play for next year. One of the faces of the franchise passed away last year, Franco Harris. They're going to be fired up next year. Okay. I don't know. I don't know. It would take a lot. It would take a lot of luck. Now, I do agree with this. You put Joe Burrow in the Steelers system. I agree with Pickens and Johnson. Oh, man. That would be good for all you Deontay Johnson dynasty owners. I don't need another fantasy expert telling me, well, did you know Deontay Johnson's yard per route run is still really good? I don't know a whole lot about like the fantasy analytics stuff. I think that was him or Pickens, either one. Still, I'm not a Kenny Pickett believer. Just not my cup of tea. I don't know how you guys feel. Apparently, a lot of you agree. Let's see here. Jesse Bates gone. Pelicans lose again. I didn't watch tonight. Obviously, I was focused on this. So I missed a lot of games. But yeah, they lose to the Lakers at home. Sucks because they don't have Bron right now, obviously. And Anthony Davis is who killed us tonight. Yeah, pretty even scoring. Herb with 20, Trey with 20, Ingram with 22. The sad truth is CJ McCollum is just falling off a cliff. Oh, but you won it. You absolutely won it. I got to find the Matthew card. And I mail it, I get it back, and now I lose it, which is even more frustrating. But we're going to find it. I do agree Willie is struggling right now. He's not been the best. But, you know, in the NBA, coaching does matter. It really does. But, you know, like Ingram has just been in and out. And CJ has not been as good. I don't think those two pair together well at all, which I thought they would. I mean, last year they were fine together, but I don't know. It just seems we're a little static when they're both in there at the same time. And it sucks because Trey is obviously playing well. Herb is a great defender. But yeah, we're probably not going to make the playoffs, and that sucks, especially that the Lakers beat us tonight. But in the NBA, especially in the Western Conference, if your best player is not playing, you're just not going to win a lot of games. Okay? Now, the Bucks play fine without Giannis for a game or two, right? And the difference is the Buccaneers, the Bucks have numbers, right? They have a bunch of championship level players and minds, and they have a championship coach. And Drew Holiday is like the ultimate player for when your star is out, because you don't lose anything on the defensive end, and you know he can crank it up offensively when you need it. And Giannis is a better player than Zion, but the Bucks just don't drop off the same like we have without Zion. But ultimately, if your best player's not playing, you're just not going to win a lot. You're just not. It's just how it rolls. So yeah, it sucks. I know TJ watches every game. I know Pierce watches every game. But but yeah, it is what it is. We're just terrible, and I've lost 30 viewers talking about this. It's fine. We all need to let it out somewhere, okay? But it sucks, like Zion's just got to play. I mean, at some point you just, I don't know what the issue is. Obviously, it's serious, but I do think, and no one knows the extent. Only Zion. Obviously, if you're a smaller market team like us, you have to kowtow to the stars and all of that. But you did get maxed out this past off season. It would be nice to have a Herculean comeback here from Zion, and it's probably not going to happen. So yeah, it could be, after all, that Jordan Poole is the best player in that rookie class, as crazy as that sounds. But that's where things are heading, especially at the end of this season. Which obviously he's not the best player. Zion and Ja are better than them, but still. Dame is never leaving Portland. I just don't see it. I just don't. LSU 16-0 over UNO. I like it. Is this the same UNO team that had the viral moment with the umpire striking that player out when it was like 10 yards away from home plate? It's still wild to me. Light skin CGA. New Roads living in Georgia, back in the house. Nelson, aka Nelly, let's go. New Roads, let's go. Where are my fellow Point Capri Parishes, baby? Let's go. The best town in Louisiana is New Roads, Louisiana. Y'all don't know they sing about False River, do you? Do you? You don't. You don't. TJ, thank you for the super chat. You get to pick the next topic. TJ, I know you're a big Pelicans fan. You and Pierce watch all the games. So if you want to keep talking Pels, we'll talk Pels. We will. Okay? Now, obviously, with where we are in the standings right now, tonight would have been nice to win this one versus the Lakers. Still in play-in territory, obviously, being the 10 seed. Now, I'm going to say something that actually hurts us in this situation. I don't like the play-in game concept. I don't. It's either you're in or you're out. Like 8 is playing. You can't be a top 8 team in your division. You shouldn't play at all. In fact, there shouldn't even be conferences in the NBA. It's silly. Everybody, welcome Annika D to the channel. I work at Point Capilla. Is that good enough? I love False River. It's beautiful. I love it. False River is so underrated. God, I love New Roads. I miss my granddad every day. Loved him. And yeah, passed away when I was in 9th grade. So I got to grow up. I didn't live in New Roads, but my mom's side of my family is New Roads all the way up and down. And I spent a lot of my summers just hanging out there. And I miss it. I really do. Really, really, really do. It's a great place. What's up, Pizzicola? So you just, I love this. You acquire this rare card. Who was it? So you acquire this rare card, and you're like, okay, I've got to tell somebody. And you don't even tell me who the player is. So False River is in New Roads, Louisiana. And it's not easy to locate because it is not actually a river. It is a lake. That's the play on words, False River. So it's cool. Huh? But yeah, you got Ventress down there. It's down in Patrick Queen territory. Tajee Spears. Walter Ford. Well, congratulations. There he is. There he is. So Van steps in as he always does. I really appreciate you. I think Van just jumped in here. So, not only this, we get some big LSU news right now. All right. Arden Key has a new destination. Hey, Van, I know you and I talked about Arden Key before. Arden Key to the Tennessee Titans. Breaking news. Okay. Mike Garfalo. NFL Networks reporting this with Ian Rappaport. Y'all show some love to Van in the chat. Okay. Arden Key. A 3-year, $21 million deal. That's good. Look at Arden getting paid, baby. Let's go. I love it. That's a good fit too with Vrabel. I'm super happy Arden Key got paid. Fell in the draft. That's good. Y'all show love to Van in the chat dropping a 50 burger. Give me some clap emojis. Let's go. You see, Michael B is probably the most supportive guy in here. I love seeing Arden Key get paid. I'm a huge Arden collector, baby. I've given out so many more Arden Key cards. So, Van, you get to pick the next topic. But I did say earlier, if we get a $50 super chat, I will share what my Power Hour SEC video is going to be about tomorrow. And it is the most overrated coach in the SEC. It is not Jimbo Fisher. It is not Billy Napier. It is not Lane Kiffin. It is, without reasonable doubt, Mark Stoops. I am so sick and tired of people reminding me each and every season, did you know that Mark Stoops is the best coach at Kentucky since Bear Bryant? I hate it. I absolutely hate it. So I will continue this rant in just a second. TJ did super chat. Who's a guy you were high on prior to the draft that never truly panned out? Okay. So TJ, you know what's funny about this? And this is why I like you, TJ. Okay, you do super chat, you are a patron. But I was actually thinking of this very thing earlier today, TJ. This exact question. Let me repeat it again. Okay, and I'll answer it briefly and we'll get back to Van super chat here. All right. Who's a guy that I was high on prior to the draft that never truly panned out? And the only correct answer to who the most colossal bust in NFL draft history is, it is not Jamarcus Russell. It is not. Okay. And you guys know I get very defensive of Jamarcus Russell. He was a big bust. I'd be the first to tell you this. But Jamarcus Russell did go to the Raiders, right? Who I highly recommend you go listen to the Pivot interview. That was a very hellacious experience. And we can get into a debate about the football tape incident or the football film thing or whatever. We could get into the partying and all of that. But Jamarcus Russell failed because he did not work hard. Okay. He would admit that. All right. There was off the field things that were working against Jamarcus Russell. So, yeah, I get very defensive of Jay Russell's legacy because there's so many LSU fans that just don't like the guy, which is kind of strange because there's no reason to not like him if you're an LSU fan because he did everything right at LSU. And, brought us back in the Oregon State game and then was the first LSU quarterback for back-to-back 10-win seasons, 8 fourth quarter and overtime comeback victories. I mean, he's one of the clutchest, best quarterbacks ever at LSU. So Jamarcus Russell is the biggest bust. Okay. Anyone will tell you that. But the correct answer to this is Morris Claiborne. Okay. Morris Claiborne is without reasonable doubt the most surprising LSU player to not work out in the NFL. That one still perplexes me. And when you go back to it, you do begin to see like there were so many talented players in that secondary that maybe Morris Claiborne was just a beneficiary of being around Eric Reed and Tyrann Mathieu. And, think about it, Patrick Peterson was opposite him in 2010. So, you're going to get a lot of, good things coming your way. You're going to get a lot of action. You're going to get a lot of picks. But this guy won the Thorpe, worked hard. From what I know, work ethic was never the issue with Morris Claiborne. So with Jamarcus Russell, that was kind of an own self-destruction. But just simply from a football perspective, when the Cowboys traded up to get Morris Claiborne, this move was universally loved. Like, no doubt about it, Morris Claiborne. And I thought Morris Claiborne was going to be a multiple-time Pro Bowler. Everybody did. Everybody did. The Cowboys did. And because, Jerry Jones has a questionable draft history and some of the risk. And we know the story that he wanted to draft Johnny Manziel and his son said no. And they drafted Zach Martin, which obviously worked out really well for them. So I think Morris Claiborne is honestly the answer to this because there was not a single person that thought Morris Claiborne was going to be a bust. Not a single one. That there was not one person that said this was a bad move. Everybody thought that was a good move. Can we clean up special teams? It cost us a few games last year. Are we better off this year? It's a good question, and I want to get back into the Mark Stoops super chat, but Michael, this is a very good question, and Vane and I discussed this via phone call a few weeks ago. All right, the truth here is Falls River is the best lake in Louisiana. Come after me with Pontchartrain. Come after me with so many other ones. That's fine, but still. Can we clean up special teams? Yes, we can only go up. I have a tough time believing that LSU special teams is ever going to muff for kicks and or punts in in opening half of a season. I doubt that ever happens. Also, keep in mind, even if the Aaron Anderson thing doesn't work out as a returner, one low-key storyline, and this was texted to me from someone I trust. Gregory Clayton is still on this roster. Okay, where's number 80 now? Where's the Jack Besh's number? He is still there to be that guy. And who cares if he never returns one? You know who else didn't return a punt? Derek Stingley. Just catch it. That's all that matters in the grand scheme of things. Not everybody's going to Odell or Tyron the daggum thing. But you are right, Michael B. We were discussing earlier about the Tennessee game. Would we have been better with Perk? Would we have been better with Will Campbell in that game? The answer is probably not. We still get beat because we were just so bad in so many other facets. And, when you muff an opening kickoff and they score a tutty and we allow a deep punt return, give up a field goal, you're in a 10-0 hole against a really talented, hungry team coming off a bye. So, yeah, I think we're better off next year. Our deep snapper returns, Slade Roy. Our kicker, Ramos, returns. Dilbert, our kickoff specialist, return. And Jay Bramblett, who was the special teamer of the year on LSU, returns. And he is a fifth-year guy. So we are better off. And Michael B., I'm so happy you are back in the PHL chat room. Ruben Randall shocked me too. So I think Ruben Randall had a good NFL career. My thing is Morris Claiborne was just not good, right? Like, and it's good to have you back again, Grant. I hope you guys have signed up for the PHL Bracket Challenge. I sent you a message about that, Grant. Need you in there. Totally free. But yes, Ruben Randall, I thought was good with Eli Manning. I thought he had a pretty solid career. I didn't view him as like a special can't miss like Jamar Chase level prospect coming out, though. I think Ruben Randall had a pretty solid career. The issue with Morris Claiborne was he just wasn't good. Like he just wasn't. And that is still shocking. I think Joseph makes a really good point that Daryl Simon had a better career. And yeah, I mean, Daryl was really good for us at LSU, and he had a pretty solid NFL career. I know everyone's going to bring up the Julian Edelman Super Bowl. That's unfair to Daryl. That was Brady and Edelman in the Super Bowl. Those guys were money. But yeah. So yeah, maybe Morris Claiborne was better than Ruben Randall. Maybe he was. I would have to go back and look. Now, the difference though is Ruben Randall. There wasn't all that draft capital that Dallas had to spend to go get him. And understand, I can give a rip about the Cowboys. I really can. Like, I've had buddies that worked for them. I mean, I want nothing but the best for them and whatnot. I'm just not a Cowboys fan. I've interviewed Stephen Jones before. It's kind of like the Jamarcus Russell thing. It's not a big deal to me if an LSU player is a bust in the NFL because they were good for us. They were good for my team. Okay. And that's what matters. So, but anyway, to follow up on this. So I said earlier, $50 super chat would allow me to spill the beans on who I think the most overrated SEC coach is. And it is Mark Stoops. Okay. Now, I know what a lot of people are going to say. And it's just same old thing when it comes to Mark Stoops. Well, it's Kentucky. Do you expect Kentucky to win a national championship? No, I don't. Okay. And when I bring up that Mark Stoops is overrated, I always get, well, did you know that Kentucky has only had 2 10-win seasons under Mark Stoops, but historically, they only have 4 10-win seasons total. Mark Stoops has half of them. I have heard that too. Okay. But there comes a point when you hit a ceiling. And look, winning 8 games every year at Kentucky is fine. That's good. If the standard at Kentucky should be 6, 7, 8 wins. However, how you carry yourself matters. How you get paid matters. And at some point, there needs to be a little bit more out of who you are as a coach. Let me explain. So, Mark Stoops at Kentucky, his turn of when he actually started getting better was in 2016. Okay. So, the first thing we need to understand when judging coaches' legacies is looking at a win loss record is actually a cruel way of looking at a college football coach. Now, why is that? Because schedules are imbalanced, especially in the SEC. The SEC West is tougher than the SEC East. Also, your cross division rival has a huge impact on how we view you as a coach, which is why it drove me crazy when people would say, "Hey, did you know that Gus Malzahn is, barely a 500 coach at Auburn?" And what they don't mention is every year Auburn had to play Georgia every single season. Okay. No one else in the West had to do that, which makes the job infinitely tougher. So when you look at the SEC and the coaches that we consider successful in the SEC, there are two major factors: your raw talent, which is the number one factor, and the second big factor is who you play. Okay. Everything else is secondary to those two things. Okay. Your scheme, your coaching ability, all those things. Okay. Kentucky caught a lot of breaks during the Mark Stoops era. Okay. So the first thing that happened was since 2016, Kentucky has gone to a bowl game every single season under Mark Stoops. And that sounds really impressive because it is, right? Kentucky hadn't had the success. But also in 2016, Mark Pinkel was no longer the coach at Missouri. Okay. And Missouri began to become mediocre. Under Mark Pinkel, they had multiple 10-plus win seasons. Also at South Carolina, a guy by the name of Steve Spurrier retired, where a guy by the name of Will Muschamp filled in. So Barry Odom and Will Muschamp weren't as good of a coach as their predecessors. And since that time period, since those two coaches have left, Kentucky has gone 11-3 versus those teams. Okay. So the SEC East has gotten considerably weaker during Mark Stoops' tenure. And now that Elia Drinkowitz and Shane Beamer are there, and those two programs are getting better in my estimation, I think Mark Stoops is about to regress. Also, Mark Stoops has had a lot of close game luck. Since 2016, Mark Stoops is 22-11 in one score games. So he's had a lot of good fortune to be where he is right now. Okay. So, obviously a lot of good luck involved with both of those numbers, right? And then keep in mind, during a chunk of the Mark Stoops tenure, the two worst coaches, arguably in the history of Tennessee football, went back to back: Butch Jones and Jeremy Pruitt. So he was dealing with bad Tennessee teams. So now Mark Stoops is dealing with Tennessee, who is way better than them now. He is dealing with South Carolina, who beat them last year. And he's dealing with the pesky Missouri team that is starting to recruit better. They're starting to get, some players in the portal. So the East is going to catch up to Kentucky eventually because Mark Stoops himself has maxed himself out. Okay. So my thing is this. All right. Florida's down some. That's a good point. But I think Billy is recruiting fine. I just think there could be a time where only Vanderbilt is a team that Kentucky is better than. And guess what? Vanderbilt beat them last year as well, with Will Levis healthy. So, I just don't see forward trajectory right here with with Mark Stoops. So yes, he's got these 2 10-win seasons. Well, 2018 he had Matt House, and we seen Matt House at LSU. Matt House looked pretty special this year, right? He looked really good. So, and then in 2021 he had Liam Cohen, who's now back as his offensive coordinator. So that's a good thing. And he's had really good skill guys, Benny Snell, Wan'Dale Robinson. So you give Mark Stoops a lot of credit. He's done a lot of really good things. Okay. And I'm not saying he is a bad coach, but every list that I have seen that list the best coaches in the SEC has either Mark Stoops in the top 15 coaches in all of college football, which is crazy, or they have Mark Stoops as a top 6 coach in the SEC. I'm telling you right now, Kentucky is not in a good place. And yes, they got Leary coming in from the transfer portal. Barian Brown might be the best wide receiver in the SEC East. But still, I'm just not in love with where they're going. And 2 things kind of bother me about Stoops, okay? Because I know if someone just randomly picked this up and they said, Carter, you got to keep in mind, this is Kentucky. They sucked for forever. This bothered me, okay? Sometimes you got to know your place. And the way Mark Stoops handled this John Calipari mess last offseason, and I'm not a Cal guy, not a Cal guy at all. When he got very defensive over, for those who don't remember, Coach Calipari had this comment about Alabama being a football school and Kentucky being a basketball school. And it was something like that. Mark Stoops felt some type of way about it, and he wouldn't let it go. Okay? So I am fine with you being confident in yourself and saying, look, you're going to respect my football program. But at the same time, if you're going to talk a big game, back it up. If you truly want to be known as a football school, then don't lose to Vanderbilt. Don't lose as many games as you did with the first-round quarterback who regressed, who set an SEC record for sacks in the SEC East this past year. It was just excuses. Well, Carter, did you know Kentucky was really banged up last year? Who wasn't? Who wasn't? Okay? I mean, I know they didn't have Chris Rodriguez and all that, and the offensive coordinator hire was a disaster. They had a lot of bad luck in that Ole Miss game last year, but the truth is they underachieved, and we would have realized Kentucky underachieved last year a little bit more had it not been for Texas A&M burning down to the ground. So, I just think he's mid, to use a millennial term or a Gen Z term or whatever. He's mid. And I think he's always just been a decent coach at Kentucky. Because tell me this, just off the top of your head, what is Mark Stoops' signature win at Kentucky? Well, I looked. He beat Lamar Jackson in Louisville in 2016. By the way, that is the only Power 5 school that they ever play because it's their rivalry. Louisville sucks. So not only did Gary Pinkel left Missouri in 2016, Steve Spurrier left South Carolina in 2016, Petrino left Louisville in 2018. So all these programs obviously didn't replace those coaches with guys as good. And Mark Stoops is still 5th in all these coaches lists, 5th or 6th. When I am taking Shane Beamer over Mark Stoops. I'm taking Josh Heupel over Mark Stoops. And those are just 2 coaches from the East. And I don't know about Billy Napier at this point if I'm taking him over Mark Stoops. And I'm a little bit higher on Laya Drinkowitz than most. I think Missouri's season last year was a little bit better than most. So there you go. We move on here to Michael B's super chat. He's going to be the bad guy here. Oh, this is spicy. So, we hear this term hot take all the time. This is a hot take because you rarely, especially for us SEC traditionalists, right? So like LSU channels, Alabama channels, Arkansas channels, nobody sees Texas as being a dynasty in the SEC. Nobody. But Michael B does. And I can assure you, I don't think, Michael B, you're a Texas fan. Okay. So type Y for yes, type N for no. Okay. I didn't have a poll question up tonight. That's my fault. It's my fault. Let me put it. All right, Michael B, your poll question's up. Dude, Michael B, I thought this was going to be a hot take, but John agrees with you. Grant agrees with you. Johnny 5 agrees with you. Hell, Texas hadn't won the Big 12. When was the last time Texas won the Big 12? Danny girl is a lurker. Danny lurks. She'll watch full live streams and not say a daggum thing. So you know it's a spicy take when Danny girl helicopters in. You know what's funny? All right. So I go on Blake's show every Monday, 7:30. Always a good time with him. And I know not all of you like Blake. That's fine. Not all of you like me and you hate watch me. That's fine too. Okay. That's a good thing about it. I don't care if I want you to like me, but I want you to find me at least compelling. I want to be thought provoking. That is more important than you guys liking me because I don't want to waste your time. I could tell you, I could I could sunshine pump all you want, but that's not what I do. It's just not who I am. Okay. But I did not know this. All right. So every time I go on Blake's channel, he has like this introduction music. And it's the "We're back." And for the life of me, I knew what the clip was from, but I couldn't quite place it. And it finally took me forever to figure out it was Sam Ellinger's "We're back" after Texas beat. Who did they beat in that bowl game? They beat Georgia, I think. That was a crazy game because the Longhorn charged Uga. That's still the most college football thing ever. And it was in the Sugar Bowl. It was in New Orleans. This is ironically this is, oh my god, I love my new roads peeps, baby. Let's go. Oh man. This is a good step forward for the Texas football program. I think they just legalized. How do you pronounce this? Mari J. Wheezy? What? How do you? I don't know. I've never heard of this, but whatever this is, it gets the people going. Oh my god! I can't believe this. Emily D. Baker. She just talks about the same lawsuits for weeks on end. And you'd rather watch that than me. No, Haley agrees with you. Emily D. Baker. She's got the purple backlighting too, so got the purple backdrop here as well. I like it. Since 2009. I don't know, Michael B. Okay. This is true. This is true. They ran Joe in a 2019 to an onside kick with the subpar coach and team. It's true. It's true. I mean, they do have the talent to do it. And obviously they have the resources to do it. I just think they'll never get out of their own way. I just do. Like, you know, whether it's a hiring of a coach or board of regents or the history of the Eyes of Texas song, whatever it is, I've just got to see it first. Because if you say they're the next dynasty, that means Nick is no longer in. If you're saying they're the dynasty, that means they are the top. So that would require Steve Sarkisian or whoever it may be to pass Georgia. That would require them to pass Alabama. That would require them to pass us in the SEC hierarchy. Heck, it requires them to pass Oklahoma. I don't know. I don't know. Let's go. I love it. Tell Gail I said hello. It's been a while. Since I've seen her. Your photo used to be y'all two in the mountains, and now it's this. I like this one. Look at that. Still over this Emily D. Baker stuff. Like, I get it. The Alec Murdoch stuff was just so interesting. But, man, I don't know. She is smarter than me. One, I'd agree that. She is better looking than me, too. That helps. Number three, she does have a better voice than me. But really, LSU football or murder trials? LSU football or Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard? I don't know. But it is amazing, like, how big these, like, lawyer channels get. Like, it's just absurd. Abso-freaking-lutely absurd. Captain Dove says, NIL game is going to be huge. And when Texas has all the money, they could pay for players. Like Arch, they're paying him like $2.6 million. Who's going to compete with that? So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about this NIL stuff. Did Arch really get $2.6 million? Do you really believe that, Captain Dove? They do beat Alabama week 1, though. Interesting. Texas isn't Nebraska that dies from geography. Mark my words. I hate it, but if they don't succeed, it's on their boosters meddling. I like it. I swear this happens all the time. I think we'll end the live stream like, I'm like, this is going to just be an hour. And then you guys just start flying in. And guess what? That's perfectly fine. Okay. Wait, is today my channel's birthday? Actually makes sense. Today's your birthday. Don't forget, on the PHL Patreon, I dropped a new film study on some extra practice bonus footage that we were able to obtain. Someone needs to get Elon into LSU football. Oof. I'll tell you this. If Elon gets in LSU football, we will see more ads because my Twitter feed is loaded with them now. I swear. If you need an NFT, I'm your guy. I know where to find them. Just open twitter.com. But yeah, I still love the tweeters, the twitters.com. I still follow King Josiah, Dragonfly Jones, the Twitter OGs. Oh, what's the bracket for? Well, Danny, I believe you're a patron. Giving out one of my favorite Jamar Chase cards right here. Also a Joe Burrow card. And we're also giving away a Brian Kelly and DJ Chark card. I give out a few things for second and third place as well. So, yeah, it's free. It's the pin post. I'll link it right here. Just for my homie Danny girl. I kind of want to do a women's basketball bracket. I personally don't watch enough of the other women's teams, but because LSU's good, kind of want to do one. I know Sherry Berry filled out an LSU women's bracket, but it's like a little short notice to get to just doing both of them. So next year I'm going to do a women's and a men's because LSU is going to be number one from start to finish next year. In both, I'm kidding. In women's. But yeah, we're doing a men's bracket challenge. But shout out Angel Reese. Shout out Flajay on the cover of Slam magazine. Are you freaking kidding me? So there you go. Yeah, I should have done one. I still could do one. So I might set up a women's bracket challenge. You don't concur? Texas beats Alabama week 1. Yeah, TLV. I don't think I'm pronouncing it correctly. I need Sherry Berry here to help me. She is our LSU women's basketball expert. This is true. I thought this was an LSU channel. LSU men's basketball is not even on a bracket. That's true. I will say this, just to share a few more thoughts on this from last night, because I got a little crazy. I don't think this Will Wade being at McNeese story is going to be as big as people think it's going to be. So he gets hired today and immediately gets suspended 5 games. Okay, no big deal. It's the first 5 games of the year. I'm just kind of ready to move on. I just am. Like, I can understand if you have a close attachment to Will Wade. I know a few of you actually do know him personally. I don't. I've never spoken to him in my life. Never. And he won a lot of games for us, and we're relevant as a program. And we are like, we have history in LSU basketball, and that's cool. And this year was simply unacceptable. But it's just like I'm ready to move on, and I also think while Will has revenge and there might be some piece of him that still wants to be at LSU, it was never going to work out. It just wasn't. Okay. So, it's not anything personal from me to Will. Like, I really don't feel unbelievably strongly, for him or against him. But what I can tell you about um, athletic director politics and all of that, if I'm not mistaken, okay, Scott Woodward did not hire him. Okay. And when the AD doesn't have his own guy in, there's always going to be a little bit of a rift there, regardless of who it is, unless it's, Greg Byrne taking over Alabama, where Saban is the guy. It's a little bit different. Things are always different when you don't have your own guy in there, right? And that's and that's that. I do agree with this. Like, Will Wade, X's and O's weren't his best, right? A good example of this is the Michigan game, right? Where they just kept getting easy bucket after easy bucket. And we're in good position to win that game. But yeah, something else I will say, okay? And I could be totally wrong about this. I would defer to Aaron Torres. I'll defer to people that actually do cover college basketball nationally. It is harder to be great at this sport now than more than ever. Okay. Now, obviously, it's kind of like football where, everyone's got access to the transfer portal. And it puts these teams in a bind because the transfer portal does open up in college basketball the Monday before the NCAA tournament. I hate that. Why not push it back till after the NCAA tournament? These coaches have more important things to worry about than the portal. But, I do want to bring this up. I want you to notice how many blue bloods are out of the NCAA tournament this year. North Carolina, Villanova. I mean, these are multiple national championship winning programs since 2010. They're not in. I mean, it doesn't get much better than those two programs. So they're not in. There's a lot of these other programs that have rich basketball history that us, not quite like those schools, but we're not in. We're nowhere close to being in. Okay. There's just so many programs that just aren't good right now. So it's hard. I mean, this sport is really, really hard. And I know we tend to think of it as just being easier because of a 68-team field, but it's still difficult to get in this tournament. Johnny 5. Now, how he can't reveal his Final Four. That puts him at a disadvantage, right? But don't forget, you got to be in the Patreon to be qualified to win the Jamar Chase. 1 of 1. Pretty cool card. Yeah, the O debates always get difficult, especially if they're later. You're right about this. Obviously, 2019, there's 30 programs off the top of my head that would trade every last person in their athletic department to have the 2019 season. Almost everybody would, right? But I push back on the second part just because it's not that we were as bad as we were. It was how it happened that is an issue. Okay. So, especially defensively. Paul was a PHL card winner. Good to see you, man. Gave that Joe Burrow card to his wonderful son. Brett said it depends. They don't all come out at once. The good thing, though, is the college uniform cards have never been better. So they released a new product called Bowman U, where last year the cards didn't have licenses. So they could print a card of Kayshon Boutte, but they couldn't actually put them with like an LSU logo on them. So I'll show you this. This is a card I pulled earlier today. And I don't like buying boxes because they're expensive. These boxes are $28. That's expensive for me. So I pulled this Mason Smith card. And last year, the LSU logo wouldn't have been on there. But because they have the licenses, they're allowed to put the LSU logos on there. I might give this card out too for the bracket challenge. Why not? I like old Mason Smith. Pulled this guy, Drew Allar, Penn State. So there you go. So in the next 5 minutes, I'll answer as many questions as we possibly can. Don't forget, if you haven't already, one thing that would look absolutely fantastic on your body right now. I know that sounds kind of weird. So a pause will be in place here at PowerHourLSU.com. Is where you go. PowerHourLSU.com/shop. Okay. Get your merch now. How about this? Every time you order $50 or more of merch, let me know. 2 items or more, and I will send you a Joey B card. PowerHourLSU.com. So apparently, speaking of March Madness, this game between Pitt and Mississippi State is getting a little crazy. You should get a medal if you don't delete the March Madness app off your phone. I didn't. I'm a true OG. I did not delete it off my phone. Joshua says Texas will win before 2028. The poll question is up. 3 out of every 4 of you say no. Very interesting. I like that. It's been a good game. Oh, yeah, Forbes. How about never for both of them? Yeah, Danny, it just depends on the flow of the game. Like, okay. Out of all the games Jaden played away from Tiger Stadium, outside of the Florida game, Florida State was his best. Take the Purdue game out for obvious reasons. But yeah, I think you allow Jaden to finish the game. It just depends, like, if he's truly just playing horribly, which I doubt he will. Played really well versus him last year. So, yeah. Arch Manning super fans in here tonight. Gotta love it. I like your thinking. This is a name, Guillermo Diaz Graham for Pitt. I love it. Guillermo Diaz Graham. I also like that Pitt's coach is Jeff Capel. That is such a college basketball deep cut. All those years on Coach K's bench. Jeff freaking Capel. That's crazy. Those Pitt uniforms are hideous. These are awful uniforms. God, those uniforms are hideous. It's something when you're playing Mississippi State and your uniforms are way more hideous than that maroon color. Like, I mean, that's a random one. More upset to have your house get rolled or egged. Oh, that's easy. Rolled. I mean, no. You'd be more upset for it to get egged. Right? It's not even close. Plus, Jordan is showing off. He's like, I got a house. you got a house big enough to get rolled. That's good. Huh? But yeah, getting egged sucks. Toilet paper is not like just too bad, right? You just pull the paper down. Egg though, if your house gets egged, especially depending how hot it is. Oh boy. That's true. I would guess rollings would be worse if if it was rain. JD5 does look a little bit bigger. Type Y for yes, type N for no. you picked an SEC team to win it all in your March Madness bracket. I need to get some information from you guys. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Oh, a lot of Y's in here. I'm kind of cheering for Pitt. I'm cheering for Pitt. Tell every SEC person I'm cheering for Pitt. You want to know why? Because Pitt actually helped LSU win a national championship, the LaShawn McCoy game versus West Virginia. So I'm cheering for Pitt. Because Mississippi State can't score. Just make it your Division I basketball player score. I'm cheering for Pitt. Who was favored? Let me see who was favored. Let's go. Mississippi State was favored. Interesting. Let's go. I'm him. Let's go. There you go. Well, all right, guys. This was a lot of fun. Our next live will be on Wednesday. We will have a video up on Power Hour SEC about Mark Stoops being overrated tomorrow. So really looking forward to that. By the way, I don't have anything against Mark Stoops. I don't. I just think he's overrated. Nothing against him. I have nothing in the Kentucky football. They blew us out last time. We've blown them out pretty much every other time. So it's no big deal either way. Of course, a bluegrass miracle, but it's whatever. Okay. So, oh yeah, what's a first round upset? I low key love Vermont over Marquette. Shaka Smart has been not great in the NCAA tournament. Remember, he was the one that helped jumpstart that North Carolina run last year when North Carolina beat Marquette by like 50 in the first game. Vermont is solid. They played Arkansas really tight in the first round last year. So if you're looking for a 15-2 upset, Vermont, the Catamounts, let's go. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom. Special thanks to our top super chatter of the night. That was Mr. Van Lathan. And tonight, what are we doing? Oh, we're doing some chicken quesadillas. Let's go, baby.